The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council for Monday, February 10, 2025 is called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Hoffman.
Here.
Councilmember Bergen.
Here.
Councilmember Coombs.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Hancock.
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Casal. Councilmember Casal. Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Murillo. Councilmember Murillo.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sundberg. Mayor Pro Tem Sundberg. I see you're
Excuse me, here. Is my microphone working? Sorry.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Okay, thank you. Operator error.
There's a quorum.
Okay. Please join me in an invocation. O Lord, our God and our Father, we come to you, and we ask that you look upon this particular gathering tonight to keep us safe and guide us in our decisions. Bless our city with honorable citizens, industries, sound education, and good government. Unite our community together. Even though we come from different backgrounds, we pray that there be justice and peace in our city. Give the city council and citizens the wisdom, direction, and sensitivity to the business and proceedings before us tonight. Hear us, therefore, as we commit this meeting to the health of the community. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Land acknowledgement. The city of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. Indigenous peoples have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed, and we are called to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Motion is in order for the approval of the minutes from January 27, 2025.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Berinsky.
Second by Councilmember Drinsky to approve the minutes for January 27th, 2025. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the approval of the minutes from January 27th, 2025.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Hancock, Councilmember Bergen.
Yes.
The motion passes with 11 yes votes to adopt the meeting minutes from January 27th, 2025. Mayor, could we have an announcement for the call-in line?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you.
City Council welcomes feedback from the public on both matters appearing on the agenda and public invited to be heard. If you would like to speak and have not already spoken to an operator, please press *3. For those watching on Aurora TV, call 855-695-3475 and press *3 when connected. You will hear a prompt confirming you are in line to speak to an operator and then be able to continue listening to the meeting. When the operator comes on the line, please be ready to give them your name and agenda item you wish to speak on and provide the name of the city in which you reside. Keep in mind you must press *3 before the city clerk reads the title of the item you wish to speak on. Also, please note that harassing or abusive treatment of our operators will not be tolerated and will result in the caller being disconnected. Finally, as a reminder, Council does not allow comments about any items on the agenda during public invited to be heard. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes during the public invited to be heard and a maximum of 3 minutes on agenda items. Public invited to be heard will be held at the top of the meeting for 30 minutes and again at the end of the meeting for 30 minutes.
El Consejo Municipal de la Ciudad de Aurora da la bienvenida a la opinión de sus habitantes y otros vecinos en asuntos comparecientes en la agenda y durante la invitación a la audiencia. Las personas que deseen comentar durante la invitación a la audiencia o para dar comentario en apoyo o de oposición en un tema específico, hoy, 10 de febrero, deberán llamar a la línea en vivo 855-695-3475 y presionar *3 para hablar con la operadora. Recuerde que esta sesión se lleva con respeto. Le pedimos que por favor tengan comentario con sumo respeto. Recuerde que el Consejo Municipal no permite comentarios de la audiencia mientras se dirigen asuntos de la agenda del día de hoy. Esta sesión tiene disponible interpretación en español. Esperen su turno al ser llamado e indique que necesita este servicio. Gracias.
Decorum statement. Council has created a public forum and wants to receive public input. You are asked to follow the same rules that council follows, including no attacks of a personal nature. We ask that you refrain from using profanity as children may be watching. Please respect those who are speaking, whether you agree with the content or not. As mayor, I have been asked by council to admonish speakers for non-compliance. Council should be given opportunity to address city staff to exchange contact information. Council may clarify statements related to any speaker's comments at the conclusion of public invited to be heard, but shall not enter into debate with the speakers. Public invited to be heard is limited by council rules to 30 minutes at the beginning of and the end of the council meeting. Each speaker is allotted 2 minutes to speak. Public comment on agenda items is limited to by council rules to 30 minutes total. And each speaker, public comment on agenda items, and we want to be clear on that, is limited to by council rules to 30 minutes total, and each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak. Comments on agenda items must be related to the agenda item. If the speaker does not address that particular agenda item, council has asked that I provide only one warning. If after that one warning, the person continues to not address that particular agenda item, the person's time to speak will end immediately. Please keep your fellow citizens in mind when planning your comments by limiting your comments to 3 minutes for public invited to be heard and 2 minutes for comment on agenda items. Sorry, I think that's Katie. I think that's wrong. Please.
Mayor, it should be the other way around. Should be
Yes.
2 minutes, public body to be heard, 3 minutes.
Okay. Please keep your fellow citizens in mind when planning your comments by limiting your comments to 2 minutes for public invited to be heard and 3 minutes for comments on agenda items. Public invited to be heard.
LaRonda, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Yes. Mayor Kaufman, I read your post today concerning the fatal shooting of my son, Colleen Lewis. I must say that I'm deeply disappointed. You stated that the facts in this case doesn't merit our demands. In other words, to me, you're saying if Colleen would have complied to APD commands and if Officer Deep would have seen that he didn't have a weapon, that he would still be alive today. Here are the facts, Mayor. Officer Deep went from a non-lethal weapon to a lethal weapon, knowing my son was unarmed after surveillance him for 2 days prior. Let us not forget that my son was complying in kneeling position with his hands up, repeatedly saying, "I don't have nothing. I don't have nothing." News anchors even stated live on TV, according to the body cam footage, you could clearly see that it was a cell phone that my son had in his hand. Can you, Mayor, explain to me why a white male with a visible deadly firearm who fired many rounds of bullets at APD and at their vehicle ended up with just a flesh wound to the arm? After APD fired back about 30 rounds, can you explain why the white male is still alive and my son who was unarmed is not? The reality is you can't explain because there was no justice in this senseless, premeditated murder. Let me be clear. The fight for my son will continue till we have justice. Justice for Colleen Lewis and the other unjustified murders of people of all backgrounds and color. We will fight until the end. Let me be clear. Thank you.
Your time is up. Midian, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
With a faulty warrant and an evil bullet, APD murdered Kylan Lewis. Mike Kaufman, your post today was absolutely obnoxious. For you to try to introduce information to the community that falsifies what this family has been seeking is disgusting. Your claim that they have been coming to this council asking for some type of financial settlement is not only false, it's indicative that you have not been listening to the pleas of this family. No one from Kylan's family or from the community has asked for 1 red cent, yet you are trying to create a scenario and a narrative for the Aurora community to now attack this family. You don't see the trembles that LaRonda experiences when she is trying to address you. Each of you would be lucky to be in her presence. This woman has grace, she has dignity, and she has love in abundance for her son. Yet none of you have made any type of arrangement to get in front of her to at least acknowledge that her son mattered. That is unacceptable, and your leadership is dismal. So with that being said, you consistently start this with a facade of a prayer. So now I'm going to end with a prayer. Lord, we come to you today and we are asking you to compel the hearts of the individuals that claim to be the leaders of this city. And Lord, we are not mad if you exalt Old Testament judgment on these individuals. Father, if a plague comes to their family, we understand. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Hashim, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, my name is Hashim, and Mike Kaufman, I just want to point out a continuous pattern of your horrible, despicable behavior. You have a long history of hating Black men, as Kyle Clark has documented on Channel 9 News with your hatred for Obama. The fact that so many have lost their lives underneath your leadership under Aurora is disgusting. Additionally, council has a history of hate because in every situation when a life is taken, they always stand up in defense of the murderers. I find that highly interesting when it was Councilwoman Angela Lawson who had an experience with Aurora Police Department for being profiled and them not knowing that she was a councilwoman. She spoke out in anger about that issue. Councilwoman Lawson, I beg with you to please find that backbone, find that courage to take the stand to do right so that your ancestors could be proud of you. Additionally, we have to point out the hypocrisy or the historical pattern of what it takes when people speak out against injustice. They are always painted as wrong or as greedy or something that is other than the truth. I encourage the public to reach deep and to do the work and ask how many lives have been harmed by Aurora Police Department. In closing, I want to say a couple of things. Councilman Medina, my sympathy, my condolences to you in your time of loss. Additionally, Mike Kaufman, your treatment of staff from last night's meeting and before is despicable. How dare you be so incompetent to be upset with them because citizens are choosing to utilize their First Amendment rights?
Ante, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Ain't gonna let no council turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let no council turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a marching, keep on a talking, marching to the freedom land. Those Negro spirituals continue to pull a people forward. From those who sang them with Martin Luther King to those who picked cotton and sung them in the cotton fields which some of your ancestors owned, our ancestors still rose to the occasion. So I am confused on why we are having this conversation still almost a year after Kylan Lewis was murdered. The family has not asked you for a financial settlement, Mr. Mayor. No public commenter has told you what dollar amount would bring Kylan Lewis back. You've not received anything from his family demanding a financial settlement. So why would you lie to social media on your public Facebook page saying that's one of the demands the family has? I ask you just yet again to dig deep into your heart, because if it was your family member that was wrongfully murdered, you would at least want somebody to say, I'm sorry that happened.
Your time is up.
And you.
Mayor, that was the last individual.
Well, next question before us is the adoption of the agenda. Motion is in order.
So moved.
Sorry, it's been moved by
Hancock.
Councilman Hancock, seconded by Councilman Kissel. A discussion? Seeing no discussion, then the question before us is the adoption of the agenda. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Coombs. Thank you. The motion passes with 11 votes to adopt the agenda.
Next question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar on motions. item number 10C1. Motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve item 10C1, Jurenski.
It's been moved by Councilmember Jersky, seconded by
Bergen.
Councilmember Bergen to approve item number 10C1. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on item 10C1.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, sorry.
The motion passes with 11 yes votes to adopt the consent calendar for motion.
Consent calendar, resolutions and ordinances, item number 11A1 to 11B12. A motion is in order.
Mayor, this is Katie. We have a few individuals who have signed up to speak on item 11A2.
Very well.
Mayor.
Tanya, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I appreciate your time and effort and whatnot. The first thing I'd want to say is transparency through everyone, through Mayor Kaufman and everybody with what's going on. The next thing I want to do, and I apologize for repeating this for those that have received this email, but I'm going to try again to let my voice be heard. Last council meeting, I wanted to speak on the agenda item regarding public concerns. That particular item was way at the end, and all the other agenda items regarding property and fences were prior to. These agenda items we all know were hijacked. I'm waiting for the wanting to the right time to speak to be desired. If this continues to go to the same way, then I plead that our right be taken, and I wish with that the true reason can be given to the public in a way we can't talk. This is beyond ridiculous. The same individuals always get to speak, and other people are either afraid or don't care to speak. You are a council and need to seriously take heed and speak for all those who have voted for you. Again, hopefully I'll be able to speak, which I did. Thank you. I know others will take that away as usual. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on?
Yes.
LaRonda, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, members. Good afternoon or good evening. I would deeply say that public comments should stay, that it should not be gotten rid of on any level, that the public have right to speak. And I say that it should not be divided into two 30-minute increments, that it should be at the forefront, because the people do have a right to be heard on all levels. So I'm saying that public comments should be here to stay. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish, Katie?
Adine, go ahead.
Your council, which is not a body of government, we saw that last meeting. You're not a body of government. You're more like a bowling team. But you all trying to continue to change the rules of public comment, it's not going to, at the end of the day, it's not going to deter us from finding ways to ensure that our voices are lifted. There is no rule that you can come up with that is going to deter your community and your people from letting you know that we want justice. Danielle, you claim that you are making this change because people have, quote, genuine concerns that they're not able to be heard. The murder of Kylan Lewis, Danielle, is a genuine concern. Your council is not in business until you are in the business of taking care of your constituency. So trying to change the rules to dodge what is in front of you is not something that is going to work. Whatever you all decide on tonight, just know and understand, like I've told you before, we strategize we organize because we will decolonize what you have done to this council. There is no rule that is going to keep us from ensuring that justice is afforded to Kylan Lewis and his family. If you want to turn this into a public hearing that you all can conveniently dodge, we will come to your town halls, we will come into other spaces, and your constituency is going to have to, unfortunately, be hindered because you are not in the business of justice. So I remind you again, you don't have any business until you have the business of justice. So you can vote on a rule, you can continue to try to innovate. Francois, if you're there or not, this has everything to do with you as well. Stop trying to run from what is in front of you and instead be a leader for this time. It is simple. You can simply invite this family into a space to give them a thoughtful opportunity to express what it is that is necessary for the sake of public comment. So public comment is the space.
Team, go ahead.
Yes, I'm speaking to the issue of public comment. As a longtime Aurora resident, I remember back when City Council had courage and they allowed people to speak and have voiced their opinions for public comment. You all are elected officials. If you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. Elected officials mean that you are public servant number one. Sometimes this is the only access that people have to voice their opinion to council. It should not be limited because you all are cowards, because your backbones are the equivalent of a limp noodle, or because you are just too fragile to hear an opinion that is different than you. Our country was founded upon principles that allow people to speak their mind. The issue is when it's people that are not white, straight, Christian, rich men decide to speak their minds. That is when you all become fragile. That is when you all shrink. But we are here, and these are the rules. Additionally, allow history to show that it is your cowardice that has allowed you all to appear as fumbling, bumbling buffoons. We saw last week the disgusting look of Stephanie Hancock's home.
Done.
Monte, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Council members, if anybody tonight is speaking to you that understands what it means to be a member of a public body who holds the public's trust, it is myself. I have sat through public comment changes. Not public comment changes. I sat through public comment meetings for 4 consecutive years on the Denver School Board. And one of those that I, remember is sitting through a meeting that started at 4:30 and we did not gavel out for public comments until about 1 a.m. And so as you debate more rule changes, one of the things that I'm going to ask you is to ask the simple question is, did the last rule change fail? Today is the first time since you first adopted the newest set of rule changes for you all to change it yet again. And so I am imploring you to start actually doing some survey analysis about what's working and what's not working, because there are folks who want to be able to speak to you regardless of the 30 minutes before or 40 minutes, but at least show that you're genuinely engaging in the public comment. Do you agree with every public commenter? No, you do not. I have sat through, again, meetings upon meetings of public commenters who I have never once agreed with, but we did not change our rules. We did not close the door. We did not try to move the goalposts because we simply didn't like what was being said on the other side of the dais. And so my hope to you all tonight is definitely do that risk analysis around what is working, what's not working, and then also ask yourselves, who sent us to these seats? Because we often hear that public comment is a privilege and not a right. However, you would not be in your seats if it wasn't for the public. So if there's one thing that you can at least open up to hearing is that I have likely sat through more public comment than some of you all on city council as a school board member. And so my hope for you tonight is don't change the rules because you're upset with public commenters. We've shown you that we can adapt to whatever setting you put us in, but at least start thinking about what is that risk analysis and what are you doing that is impacting your ability to govern. It's okay to listen to hours upon hours of public comment. If I can do it as a volunteer elected official, you all can do it as well as city councilors. So that's probably the kindest speech I'll ever give to you, but just wanted to give those words of advice. 4:30 to 1 a.m. That's a long time. I encourage you all to also do it.
Is there anyone else?
That was the last person.
Very well. Then the question before us is the consent calendar resolutions and ordinances. Item number 11A1 to 11B12. A motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve item 11A1 to 11B12, Jurenski.
Moved by Councilmember Jersey, seconded by.
Right.
I'm sorry, seconded by Councilmember Kazaa. Okay. Further
Mayor.
discussion?
Mayor
I'm sorry.
Gardner,
Councilmember Gardner.
I'd like to pull item 11A2.
Okay. Then we'll do 11A2 separately. So the question before us right now is the adoption of consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances. Item number 11A1, and then item number 11A3 to 11B12. Is there a discussion?
Mayor, I don't know if you heard, but I was also trying to pull an item off.
Oh, which item? I'm sorry.
11A3.
Okay. Item number, okay, so then it will be, the question before us then is item number 11A1 through 11A4 to 11B12. Discussion. Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the consent calendar? Item 11A1, and then item 11A4 to 11B12.
Katie, my e-scribe disappeared.
Yeah, you're gonna get another one. It happened to me too.
Councilmember Medina? Councilmember Hancock, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt the consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances with item 11A2 and 11A3 removed.
Is everybody voted?
Yes, the motion passed to adopt the consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances with item 11A2 and 11A3 removed.
Okay, will the clerk please read the title to item number 11A2?
Item 11A2 is Resolution 2025-16 to amend the rules of order and procedure for the Aurora, Colorado City Council concerning public and city council meeting time.
Motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve item 11A2.
Moved by Councilmember Jersey, seconded by
Hancock.
Councilmember Hancock to approve item number 11A2. Discussion?
Mayor Gardner.
Councilmember Gardner.
Thanks. I'd like to, I don't know, Katie, do you have the email I sent this morning with the amendments I'm offering that you can pull up?
Yes, they're put into e-scribe for council to be able to view.
I have it, Councilmember Gardner, and I reviewed it and accepted as a friendly amendment.
Okay, that's all I have, Mayor.
Very well. Further discussion on item number 11A2 as amended?
Mayor.
Councilmember Combs.
Yeah, so while I appreciate my colleagues acknowledging the continued need to have a public forum, I'm concerned about the way in which this is being done. And there's a couple reasons. One is that now we're changing how folks can comment every meeting. That is the precedent we're setting right now, is that we are changing this every single meeting. Changing the time, changing the rules, changing the process, creating more hoops for people to jump through and creating more confusion. What that does is it makes our meeting and people's ability to participate in those meetings inaccessible and increasingly so. What it also does in this case is sets it up so that people cannot engage in public comment while also having the option to disrupt business as usual, which is a way in which people can participate. So we're saying you can't use or can protest. You can't use your First Amendment right to protest. You can only use it to say the things that fit within the confines of what we want to hear and how we want to hear it. And I want to remind folks that we actually did used to listen to people for as long as it took them to speak, no matter how many of them there were, about mobile home parks being shut down, about their pit bulls not being allowed in our cities, about Elijah McClain's life being taken. This isn't new, and a number of you sat through those. And it's disturbing to me that we are in a situation now where we have a council that is taking action that's really unprecedented in comparison to prior councils. There was some limitation made, but this council wants to continue to limit until it goes away. That's the message we're sending, is we want to change public comment until you just go away. And I think that's unfortunate, it's harmful, and obviously I do not support.
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that we have to continue changing the rules, but we're changing the rules because this has been going on since June at every single meeting where we have had, and I think I stated it last time, you know, we were listening to those that wanted to talk about Kylan Lewis. We genuinely were listening, but it just was like every single meeting, and then it ended up with major disruptions to the point that our own residents that have concerns about items that we can affect, because we cannot affect the outcome of the Kylan Lewis. That was done through the DA's office. We had no authority or jurisdiction in that. So we have residents that are afraid to come to our council meetings, afraid to sign up to speak, have left meetings because of their fear of what was going on. And so, yes, it is unfortunate that we keep changing the rules. I tried to compromise with the last one with the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after, and it seemed like that just meeting got hijacked. So I think we've been left with no choice but to come up with another alternative solution. There still is an opportunity for anyone to be able to comment at public invited. It's not in the middle of our meeting so that we can conduct our business.
Can somebody from staff tell me what Denver does relative to their public invited? Have you heard?
Sure, Mayor. Pete Schulte, City Attorney. So a lot of what is in this proposal, this resolution is what Denver does. So Denver has a separate session right before their council meeting that begins at 5 o'clock. And they have the same, they only do 30 minutes and they allow 3 minutes a speaker. So they limit it to 10 individuals that can sign up. And they tell individuals once after 10 people have signed up, there's no further room and they move on. They also, it's the same as us. Council can be on the dais or they can be there virtually, but it's that 30-minute session that they do. And so that's what Denver's doing. And they also limit anybody who's spoken in the last 3 months doesn't get to speak. or moves to the end. And so they try to keep track of that as well.
Further discussion.
Mayor Gardner.
Councilmember Gardner.
Yeah, in terms of the comments about the First Amendment allowing protest and things like that, it certainly does. But also courts have found over and over again that these types of forums, public invited to be heard, while they are First Amendment forum, that we can also place restrictions on time, place, and manner. And one of the restrictions that we can place on manner is the disruptive behavior. So that is well within our First Amendment right under time, place, and manner to put restrictions on public invited to be heard.
Further discussion.
Mayor?
I'm sorry, Councilmember.
I agree that people should have public to invited be heard, but the continued disruptions at the council meeting are extremely frustrating and they're counterproductive. As orchestrated by colleagues on this council, they are the perpetrators of this. And one of the callers said earlier that no one has reached out to the Lewis family. I personally talked to Mrs. Lewis months and months ago. We had a one-on-one private conversation, which I spoke with her, and she knows this very well. And to continue to drum on this dialogue that makes us seem like heartless ogres is just really unfounded, and it's unreasonable, and it's unfair. But for us as council members, yes, we are elected by a large constituency that sent us here to do 3 specific things, at least my ward: crime, homelessness, bringing business into the community. These are the things they asked us to come to work for. And we continually be circumnavigated by these things that really are counterproductive and impede our ability to do the job that we've been sent to do, orchestrated by members of council for reasons that I'm still having trouble to wrap my head around. I think we should follow the lead of what Denver does, allowing public to be invited to be heard. I'm in favor of the friendly amendment, and I think we should move forward with that.
Further discussion.
Mayor Jurenski.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember Mario.
Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think for me, this is very similar to what Denver does, but and I have Denver's website pulled up right here, and it says specifically, if you have spoken within the last week or last 3 months, you will move to the bottom of the list to give new speakers a chance. What we have tried to do here is prioritize Aurora residents, because what's not being heard, we are hearing from the Kylan Lewis family and supporters every week, and we do hear them. But we've explained time and time again that we are not the correct body to do anything about that. Senate Bill 217 already put a lot of restrictions on our police officers. If they want to see further change in law enforcement or anything with Michael Deek, that needs to be taken up with the Attorney General's office. And these folks know that. So what it is they come and they don't just want to be heard, they want to be seen. And so this has turned into somewhat of a theatrical performance for some of them. Hearing from LaRonda Jones is absolutely heartbreaking. I have all the respect in the world for her. Kylan's father, Kylan's brother. We've heard from Kylan's cousin. We've heard from Kylan's wife. We hear you. We hear you. We've heard you. It's not that we don't hear you. We hear you every single week. But what you guys don't know is that we're getting emails from residents of Aurora who are very upset that they're not getting to speak because you guys have orchestrated, strategized to decolonize all the things that you say you're doing. And the folks of Aurora, they don't get to speak. And so we're getting these emails. So we're going to try this. And this will be before the meeting, so it will not be on the agenda. So there will be no back and forth about whether or not time is going to be extended, or it's going to be, it's publicly noticed that this is when our meetings are going to start. So that's when the meetings will start. So it takes away all of that confusion on voting whether or not we're going to extend, not extend, who gets to speak, who doesn't get to speak. It still allows for 40 minutes, but this will no longer be televised. So you guys will speak and we will continue to listen, but we have said, the city attorney's office have said, we are not the correct body. If you want something to happen, you know, you need to take that up with the state attorney's general's office. You know, it was the state attorney general's office who called for a grand jury to indict the officers involved in Elijah McClain. And you saw how that turned out. So you guys know that we're not the correct body. We've explained that. You guys know that. It's theatrical performances. So now it takes it off of the agenda. This will not be televised. You guys will be able to come and still speak, but we are going to prioritize Aurora residents. You do not have to show any type of identification, but for those who do show identification with an Aurora address, you will be prioritized to speak first. I think we will try this and we will see how it goes. To get us back in person. I know I want to be back in person. I don't really like being at home. I want to be back in person. So I hope that this helps. I hope that this is a step to bridge that gap. If not, I think what Denver does is a lovely idea that if you have spoken in the last week or last 3 months, you will automatically move to the end of the list, the bottom of the list. And I think that that will be the next route that we go. But to say that we're not listening, to say that we don't hear you, I can pretty much tell you the names of every single one of your group of the Kylan Lewis supporters and of the Kylan Lewis family that come to speak to us. So we hear you loud and clear. To LaRonda Jones, my heart absolutely breaks for you. But we have explained time and time again that we have no authority at our level to do anything. We also have been told, because you guys have hired an attorney, you guys are represented by an attorney. So it would not be technically legal for any one of us to try and reach out to you guys at this point directly. We have been told all communications have to go through our city attorney's office. So I'm not going to have this misrepresented to the public as if we don't care, as if my heart doesn't break for another mother losing her son. I'm not going to allow that misrepresentation, but we need to hear from the people of Aurora on all issues. And we get emails constantly about people who do not get to speak. Some have given up and they don't even come to our meetings anymore. And that is sad. So if you guys want to organize and strategize to decolonize, maybe elect a couple of representatives of your group. If you want us to continue hearing from you every single week, maybe organize, strategize to decolonize, appoint 1 or 2 of you to speak to us, to say the same things that you guys say. We hear it every week. We hear it. We hear you. We understand what the message is. We have no authority to fire Officer Deek. The public needs to know that. So maybe 1 or 2 of you get up and speak to say the same message and allow the people of Aurora to speak, because they want to be heard also. And we are getting their emails of anger and frustration. So the next step will be to mirror what Denver is doing exactly. And if you have spoken previously in the last 3 months, you will automatically go to the bottom of the list.
Yeah. Sorry. It'd be helpful if people would put that little hand up. I think that would help me out a lot. I'm sorry, Councilmember Combs.
Okay, first I see that the city attorney has his hand up, so maybe there's something he.
Let me go to Pete Schulte. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Combs. Just for the record, I want to read in the friendly amendment so everybody who's watching and paying attention for the record knows what the change is. If you guys will allow me to do that, Mayor. Section 1 will change the time 7:15 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. On Section 3, we're going to change 6:30 p.m.
Amendment.
What's that?
The amendment is a different time.
That's what he's saying.
He's reading the amendment.
I'm reading the friendly amendment that was accepted by Councilmember Durinsky. So it's clear on the record what the resolution looks like now. So when you all vote, the public knows what you're all voting on. So Section 1 is going to change the time, the start time of the meeting from where it is 7:15 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. And on Section 3 of the resolution, instead of public comment listening session being from 6:30 p.m. to 7:10 p.m., it'll be from 6 p.m. to 6:40 p.m. And then also in Section 3, the sign-up deadline to sign up will move from 6:15. It'll be from 5:45 p.m. to 6:15. And so that's what it is. So just moving forward, and Mr. Bachelor and I have talked about this, We may need to make a rule change a little bit to not have a hard start of study session at 5:15, just because this may limit us, but we can do that at another time, but just so that you know, that's kind of where we are.
Okay. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so couple things. Councilmember Gardner indicated that this is about imposing reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. However, this discussion clearly demonstrates that the legislative intent of this rule change is content-based in nature. It's about what's being said and who's saying it, not just about the time, place, and manner of the comment. So that's issue one. Issue two, we are not empowered to make the changes the Attorney General is. The grand jury that was called, the consent decree that was pursued were the result largely of organizing that happened for justice for Elijah McClain at this council, not in other places. The comments were consistently coming to this council. The organizing was happening around this council. So to say that organizing around this council does not impact those other issues is clearly demonstrably false on the basis of history, very recent history. And finally, my colleagues are interested in mirroring what Denver is doing, lauding what Denver's doing. I hope we can continue or consider doing the same in relation to having an Office of Independent Police Monitor, increasing the minimum wage, and having an Office of Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resilience.
Further discussion? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. We had received an email from a resident that emails us frequently with deep concerns for her community and safety issues. We've had quite a few emails from this resident, and she cares deeply. And she had said in her email, what these speakers fail to understand is that this approach diminishes their credibility and makes them appear uninformed about the basic legal process. It's like going to the DMV and demanding a building permit. No matter how many times you go, it's simply not their jurisdiction. You know, I think even early on, a few of these speakers acknowledged that this is not within our abilities to do anything. And I'd like to say that before the holidays, you know, and I've felt empathy for this family. I've tried to put myself in their shoes. I thought it would be a good idea to, in empathy, reach out to Kiowa Lewis, the brother. And I asked a council member for his phone number, and she asked someone, and it got back to me, well, you have to go through this certain individual. So I went to that individual, and I said, hey, I'd just like to, you know, express some thoughts towards Kiowa. And, this has to be approved by a committee that surrounds the family. Okay, well, you know, my intentions are sincere and I'm not here to play games, but, you know, I simply wanted to say during the holidays, I recognize that you are a gentle spirit, a spiritual individual. I recognize this must be a difficult time for your family. That's all I wanted to say. And it was revealing to me. The curtain was pulled back of some people that are just trying to be controlling. But, you know, anyway, we've heard you. We've heard you loud and clear. God bless you. And I've tried to express empathy directly, but it's not possible.
Let me just say there's virtually no comparison whatsoever between the incident with Elijah McClain and that of Kylan Lewis. And Elijah McClain, that there was no one who didn't realize on the council in public that it was a terrible mistake, that this individual never had an altercation with the criminal justice system whatsoever. And I think if you read the report that I put on my Facebook page, the full report is there from the 18th Judicial District. Kylan Lewis had a long history of committing violent crimes. Further discussion.
Mayor,
Yeah, Councilmember Maria.
thanks. You know, I've been pretty consistent in pushing back the opportunities for public invited to be heard, and I still maintain that position. I'm disappointed that we are moving to this. Clearly, this pushes community away from being able to express their frustrations. Clearly, well, not clearly. I don't know if it's clear to the public. Like, this council has had a hand in. We're saying that we're tired of games being played and our meetings getting hijacked, but we've played that game too. And that's what's frustrating, that people don't often realize if, you're not following this, because this has been ongoing for a while. We've told, community to, when things have gotten out of hand, if you stay within these parameters, like, we'll move forward. And then in that same meeting, taken off agenda items, even though people are complying with the rules. So it's really hard for me sometimes to really digest and process what I'm hearing. But ultimately, I just don't agree that we should be separating people's ability to speak to their elected representatives in this venue. And that's exactly what we're doing. And yeah, just I wanted that to be known. And I think, I think it's a little ironic that we cannot stand to be compared to Denver. Denver does all these things wrong. They're this and that. And then just, I guess, conveniently, we're okay with that.
Further discussion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Cruz.
I understand we want to take whatever positions we want to take on this issue, but I would just like to highlight that it is not acceptable to be dragging the name of dead people before this council and before the public. There was an allegation that was being investigated when Kylan Lewis was shot. To say that he had a long history of violent crime is disrespectful, unacceptable, and I would think we could have this conversation without playing the whole, we're going to talk about how the person who got shot by the cop is the bad guy.
Hey, read the report. Read the report. Further discussion.
Mayor, call for the question. Jurinsky, call for the question.
Motion call for the question requires a second.
Second. Hancock.
Moved by Councilmember Jurinsky, seconded by Councilmember Hancock. It is a non-debatable motion. Call for the question.
And it does, Mayor, it does require a 2/3 vote.
Mayor, just a point of information on that. The stunt you just pulled about characterizing Kylan Lewis in a negative fashion is what I'm talking about in terms of playing games. Like, we didn't have to do that.
Read the report.
Like I said.
Pete Schulte, I'm sorry, 2/3?
I was just saying, it's this motion does require a 2/3 vote.
Okay, very well. Call for the question on the motion.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Gardner, thank you. The motion passes with 8 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Medina, and Murillo to end debate and vote on the main motion.
Call for the question on item number 11, on the adoption of item number 11A2.
As amended.
As amended.
And the motion passes with 7 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Medina, and Murillo to adopt item 11A2 as amended.
We'll go now. Please read the title of item number 11A3.
Item 11A3 is resolution 2025-17, directing council appointees to encourage all full-time staff to work in the office at least 3 days per week.
Motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve item 11A3.
Moved by Councilmember Jurinsky, seconded by
Seconded.
Councilmember Casella to approve item number 11A3. Discussion.
Mayor Murillo.
Councilmember Murillo.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to pull this off the agenda. I think while I think we think we've seen a lot of success with hybrid schedules and different organizations have different ways that they work with their staff. I think having a resolution directing city manager to encourage staff feels like a bit of an overreach. So I think it's unnecessary. I trust the city manager and the staff and departments to navigate and manage what their employees are telling them. I know we've a lot of this started because of COVID. There was a internal survey that was conducted, and there was a lot of positive reception to remote work and kind of that work-life balance. And I think there's no clear line if 2 days or 3 days is the right mix. So I think it's an overstep of our council oversight to try to influence things like schedules. So I won't be supporting.
Let me just say that I'm, having worked with public employees at the federal, the state, and the local level, I'm just incredibly impressed with the dedication and just the determination of our employees at the city, and I often go out with them, and whether they're on the animal control or snowplow drivers or doing filling asphalt holes or going with police and fire, they're just incredibly dedicated and deeply appreciate their tremendous feeling for the city. If there were a mandate, I would say no. It does say encourage versus require. Councilmember Gardner.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I in some ways agree with Councilmember Murillo. I think this is a sledgehammer approach rather than a scalpel approach, right? Where, I think there are some city staff that need to be in person in the office 5 days a week, some that can do their jobs 100% remotely. And I think coming up with an arbitrary number I don't think is the right way to approach this. I think council's job is policy and not operations. I think a better approach would be, we as a policy statement, council believes that staff should be in person when appropriate or when needed to serve the public or whatever wording we came up with, I think is a better approach. And I talked to the staff today, and 75% of our employees, and this is for the public as well, 75% of our employees are in person every day, whether it's lifeguards, firefighters, police officers. So the vast majority of our city employees are in person, in public every day. And there are already plans going on right now to bring additional employees into the municipal center where space is allowed. One of the things I think some of my colleagues don't recognize is that in the past, there was literally not cubicle space for all of our city employees to be in City Hall. Part of that was alleviated when the water department was moved out of the AMC to the new SEAM facility. So anyways, I agree that in general, people should be available to do their job. And if that means in person, then that means 5 days a week. And what my concern here is that by doing this, we're going to start a list of haves and have-nots of what if a staff member says, well, your resolution says 3 days a week and they're told to be in the office 5 days a week. Like, I think we're setting ourselves up for some issues. And I also think some of this is some kind of old-fashioned thinking that to be productive or to be successful or to be efficient in your job, you have to be in person. And I don't agree with that. I work for an employer that is decentralized, and other than our trash truck drivers, everyone works from home wherever their home might be, and we're productive, and we get our work done, and we're told what our results are expected to be, and we have to meet it. And so I do have some concerns about this, and I wish that we were approaching this kind of in a different way.
Yeah. Well said. I do think that it is the operational authority is with the city manager, where we direct policy. Councilmember Bergen.
Oh, Jerinsky.
It's actually him.
First, I had my hand up.
Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't put my hand up. You guys go first. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I saw Hancock.
Bergen, Councilmember Coombs, and Councilmember Jerinsky. Go ahead, Councilmember Bergen. Sorry.
No,
No,
it's not. It was me.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Your hand is
Okay.
up. Okay.
My hand has been up for quite a while.
Okay, Councilmember Hancock, I'm sorry.
I just want to say this, I do disagree with my colleague. I don't think this is a sledgehammer approach. It is a suggestion. It's not a mandate. Having been one of those who worked at a tech company when COVID hit, one of the last people to go home, and it's, for me, there's a work-life balance that can be achieved working from home and also working at work. I had my work husband, I had my home husband, and everybody knows what that means. I mean, for me to walk into the AMC and hear my own footsteps, I'd like to be able to feel the energy and the pulse of the community that comes to work 3 days a week, 2 days a week, whatever your manager determines to be. But it's nice to have guests when I bring them to the city and walk them through our municipal center to actually see people be there. I just think that we should start getting used to re-engaging in the public. And when you think about the ancillary businesses that benefit from us being on site, the stores, the restaurants, and those facilities and businesses that are around the AMC, they took a significant hit, as did downtown when everybody went home. And I think, we're well beyond COVID days now. And I think the fear of that whole traumatic situation has ebbed, it's run its course, and it's time for us to start getting back to normal as we can. And we, as a council, from my perspective, I work 5 days a week in person at my office. It is good to be able to engage with folks and not to be isolated, because for some people it is a mental health issue that they remain isolated all the time. So it's good to be able to have some kind of flexibility so people can interact with the public.
Okay, let's see, then Councilmember Bergen.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I think the fact that it does say encourage and it does not mandate, I would be able to support this. However, I want to just say that I think what it comes down to is productivity and making sure that our appointees are ensuring that employees are productive and that they are doing the work that is expected of them. We do have great employees. That doesn't mean 100% of everybody does the same amount of work. I think being in person, especially like in certain departments, being able to have interface with the public, with developers, is also really a good thing to do. And even amongst each other, just being able to collaborate, between departments instead of being siloed, especially siloed at home, I think adds value to that interaction and ability to learn from each other. So I think there's value in being in person. I certainly understand we're in a new era with the hybrid workforce and having that flexibility. So I will support it because it's just because it does say encourage, it does not mandate. And I just encourage actually our city manager to work with all departments to ensure that that employees are given the right tools to do their job and to be as productive as they can be.
Councilmember Coombs.
Yeah, I just, for one, want to highlight that we're having this conversation while we are joining this meeting remotely. Many of us, the majority of us, from our home or other, not from City Hall. I also work from City Hall, although I'm working remotely from my other job, 2 to 3 days a week, because it's a much shorter commute for me to do so. And whenever I come in, I stand in line to get lunch at the Compass Cafe, because there are staff who are here working in the building getting their lunches. I see staff in the halls everywhere that I leave the building. I'm never walking in the halls by myself, not seeing staff. So the staff are here, as was noted. The majority of staff are working in the office a significant amount of the time. And then finally, I just want to note that we do also attract some really high quality employees that don't happen to live in the city of Aurora. And part of the reason we're able to do that and have them be productive and still have time with their families, and still have work-life balance is because they don't have to drive into the office in traffic or commute in other manners every single day, because they have some days where they get to work from their homes or from closer to their homes. And so for all of those reasons, I think this is arbitrary, probably counterproductive. And as noted, our council appointees are people that we have hired for their expertise and their capacity to run their operation. And so I would respect their ability to make those determinations. And this really is laying into operations rather than policy. So I will not support.
Councilmember Jersky.
Thank you. Yeah, just so the public knows, we are joining remotely right now, but that is at the advice of our police department because there were active threats against us. So that's why we are remote right now. And I stated earlier that I cannot wait to get back in person personally. And yeah, 75% of our workforce is working. We can't say in an office because police officers don't work in an office. The pros department doesn't necessarily work in an office, but the other 25%, they could come in at least 3 days a week. I've had staff reach out to me and tell me that what we will find from this is that we have had staff completely move out of the state because they've remained remote for so long. I'm told all kinds of stuff is going on with staff that's working remote. We're still hearing from developers that they're being turned away for in-person meetings. We are still constantly hearing this. So we tried to encourage in the past, please just make developer meetings in person. We've tried to encourage. We've encouraged and encouraged and encouraged. And half the time when I get up to the 5th floor, I don't know all this hustling and bustling at City Hall you're seeing, Councilmember Coombs, but half the time when I get up there, I'm the one who triggers the motion sensor to turn on the lights in the hallway. So I'm not really sure if maybe we work on different wings of this ginormous building, but half the time I'm the one that turns on the lights. I hear we have entire departments that have not stepped foot in the building, have not been in person one day whatsoever since COVID started. And as a reminder, during the pandemic, during the COVID pandemic, we saw suicide rates skyrocket because of the isolation. We also saw divorce rates skyrocket because of the isolation. So I firmly believe, look, you can fake a lot of things in your life. You cannot fake work ethic. You cannot fake work ethic. You either have it or you don't. And to encourage being in the office 3 days a week. And by the way, we should trust our council appointees. One of our council appointees, when we appointed her, she came in and she did make her staff return to the office. And all of a sudden she had all these HR complaints against her. I don't know, maybe there's irony, maybe there's not, but we do have 2 council appointees. The judges, they're on the bench. Our judges are on the bench every single day. I will tell you, our judges are on the bench. You walk in our jail, the jailers are there. They're not working remote. So 2 council appointees do have their entire staff in person. So this is just a gentle nudge to the other 2. You know, they could come in 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, Wednesday through Friday, have Monday, Tuesday off. I don't think this is crazy. Again, you can fake a lot of things in life. You cannot fake work ethic. And this is a hybrid option that is being encouraged. Most hybrid options that I've looked into, so it's not arbitrary, by the way. It is like in the office 3 days, home 2 days. So that actually is par for the course and aligns with other hybrid options. So not arbitrary. There are some thinking behind this. And right now it is an encouragement. Again, we've encouraged in the past for all developer meetings to be in person. That didn't happen. So we're just going to encourage again, and we're just going to keep encouraging until we start seeing people in the buildings and until I show up on the 5th floor and I'm not the one who triggers the motion sensor to turn on the lights on the entire 5th floor of a humongous building.
Councilmember Lawson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You know, and I'm just kind of going to the past. I remember when the city building was hustling, bustling, and okay, and I know we had COVID. I mean, but it was always something that people in all the departments, I mean, it was just someone everywhere, from finance to planning, everywhere. And then I know that I conduct a lot of meetings or take a lot of constituents to talk to city staff, and they're very willing to meet there. But I know when I have taken some of my constituents to meet, and we go upstairs to these different areas, they're like, where are the people? Some of these spaces are so empty that there's just no one there. And I'm not going to specifically say a department that I saw there was just no one there when it used to be really thriving and everything. I agree that, you know, I think that city managers should have control of the encouragement. But I also think it's important for our residents to say, I've had a resident say, well, why have a city building if there's not a lot of staff there? So I don't see Councilmember Coombs. I see you sometimes. I don't see all the hustling and bustling on the 5th floor like you're seeing, nor do I see it throughout the floors that I go up and down on to take sometimes constituents to meet with city staff. So I'm fine with, I don't know if there should be an arbitrary number, but I think that there should be encouragement. Also, too, I noticed too, also, you know, I work from home as well, but I'm very, very, when it comes to a response, I respond, but I notice when people are working from home sometimes, because sometimes I don't get a response from city staff for a minute on certain things. So to me, that's suspect, because I'm not saying you're not doing your jobs, but sometimes there is suspect on, when I see the backgrounds, I know they're working from home. So I think that the encouragement is great. I don't know about putting an arbitrary number of days, but I do think that there should be some staff in the city building and make it more of a hustling, bustling building like it used to, but putting in mind if people need to work from home, they do so. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Question for the city manager, and that is, there were people moved out for the new building that Councilmember Gardner talked about, the new building for the water department, but you're also moving more people in, I think. Can you explain that?
Yes. So when the water department moved out to Seam, their new facility out off of Quincy, they essentially cleared out half of the 3rd floor. So we've been looking at this for the better part of last year. We're in the process now of we're going to be moving some departments around within this building, so that then we can move a number of police operations into this building, so we can have police and fire co-located on the 4th floor. That they'll be there. So when we're done with that move, we will have 750 employees that have the AMC essentially assigned as their workplace. And then of that, we will have about 625 work spaces for those 750 employees. So when you look at all the offices and cubicles and things like that we have, we won't actually have enough folks to put all of them in. And then I would say that of those folks that are currently assigned, all of our operations are hybrid of some degree. Most of them are 3 days a week. Some of them are currently less than that. We'll relook at those based on this resolution. But as has been noted, all of our employees work very hard. They're very dedicated. And the main thing we want to make sure they're doing is they're getting the work done. And we've continued to see work volumes increase throughout coming out of the pandemic and continued. So we want to make sure that we are, whatever environment employees are working in, whether that's in person, hybrid, or remote, that we are getting high quality and getting the efficiency that we need. So that's our main objective. That's our main direction to our supervisors. And then that is our plan to kind of continue to activate this building here at the AMC.
Councilmember Morio. Councilmember Morio.
Thanks, Mayor. Like I said, I think it's an overstep. This feels kind of silly. Like how long we've been talking about it, actually. I think what I'm hearing is that there are specific council members that might have specific issues. And if we're trying to make a more seamless experience for developers or other like corporate interests, like I that is not necessarily what we're in the business of doing. I just feel like the more I hear about, like the rationale, it's moving away from this like work-life balance. And actually, we just want to put on a good face for corporate interests, which I do not agree. But back to my original point around, I feel like the 3 days are arbitrary. If we want to encourage, great. I'm happy to compromise. If there's some language somebody wants to put out there, but I still think this was probably like a belabored point at this point.
See, Councilmember Bergen.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good, Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Cassaw.
So I was going to ask the city's manager input, but if we can do the, friendly amendment. So, highly encouraging, those people to be in the office. But he did address some of the question of, his input on those stuff.
I'm sorry, did you want to offer an amendment, Councilmember?
He did address it, but, what was his input there?
Okay, very good. He addressed your concerns. Okay, Councilmember Jerensky, or did you still have something?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just, one point that I forgot to mention is, in the private sector, people can do whatever they want. Corporations can make up whatever rules they want. Small businesses can make up whatever they want. Our city employees, they're collecting taxpayers' dollars. They're collecting paychecks from the people. So we do have a responsibility to make sure that accessibility is there. And Jason, you can say that almost all of them come in at some point. I won't right now here in this forum start reading off a list of names of employees that have completely moved out of the state, but they exist. There is a list of employees that in fact do not step foot into the AMC because they have moved out of the state. So that's not completely a truthful statement. If you're not aware of these employees, I'm happy to provide a list of names. And then also, Councilmember Murillo said, we're not here to protect corporate interests. Well, we are here to serve the developers, and we are here to serve the corporations and attract businesses to this city and make sure that business is moving swiftly and that business is occurring. We actually are in the business of protecting all business, big or small, doesn't matter. We are in the business of attracting developers to this city. We are in the business of attracting humongous corporations to this city to provide jobs, to provide sales tax dollars. So as a council member, as a sitting council member, your comment really befuddles me because we actually are in the business of protecting big corporations, small business owners, jobs, sales tax dollars. That is what we are in the business to do. But I just wanted to put that reminder out there that these paychecks that our staff is getting are coming from taxpayers. We are not a private corporation.
I believe we have, Councilmember Moreno, go ahead.
Thank you. That might be what you're in the business of doing, but I'm here for community. I'm not here to prioritize corporate interests, unfortunately. So you can go off on a rant all you want, go off, girl. But I'm here to serve community. And if frankly, your idea of being in person for a meeting with a developer or not is the difference, I mean, I think we got to dig a little bit deeper about what operational efficiency looks like. And to all that to be said, aren't we all about promoting efficiency and work-life balance? Like, again, I feel like I'm getting pulled into this craziness. This is a belabored point. Yeah, I'm done.
So we've got, 4 direct appointments or appointees of the mayor, council, and I think all 4 of them are doing a great job. And I think that if you, it's the old proverb, if you have a losing team, fire the coach. I think they're all, well, I think we have a winning team across the board, so I'm not there, but I think you've got to let them manage. And I think Councilmember Gardner was right in terms of his comments. So further comments.
Mayor, I was just going to chime in and say that being in person can really change the dynamics of certain departments and situations, meetings. For example, the public safety meetings, I think that's crucial that is in person. There's little dynamics there that occur, whether it's eye contact or direct questions. The water meetings were moved for a while in person. I thought that was beneficial. I get it from an accountability and productivity standpoint, especially from the developer's point of view, who have complained about cameras being off and people being in their pajamas. But I understand the flexibility. It's not a one size fits all. For example, there's an oil field inspector that we have who lives way out in the country, and she goes and inspects wells and probably doesn't need to come into the city building from time to time. But I do like the fact that the word encourage is in here. It's not an actual mandate. And I like being in my running shorts right now.
Don't go there. That's not the visual I want right now. Further discussion.
Mayor,
Let's see, who's I'm sorry.
Councilmember Hancock was called for
Councilmember
question.
Hancock, without the hand.
Question, please.
Councilmember, oh, I'm sorry, did you call for the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Hancock to call for the question and seconded by
Bergen.
Councilmember Bergen. It is a non-debatable motion. Call for the question on the motion, on the Hancock motion.
Mayor Kaufman,
May vote so yes.
I'm yes.
Councilmember Coombs,
No.
the motion passes with 9 yes votes, 2 no votes from Councilmember Coombs and Medina to end debate and vote on the main motion.
Let's see, the question before us now is the adoption of, I'm sorry, 11A3. Call for the question.
Councilmember Bergen,
Yes, it's not showing up on eScribe again.
Councilmember Casal,
Yes.
the motion passes with 6 yes votes, 4 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Gardner, Medina, and Murillo to adopt item 11A3.
See the, will the clerk please read the title to item number 14A?
Item 14A is finalizing of ordinance 2025-12, amending sections 94, 122, 114, 107, 114, 108, 114, 109, and 114, 110 of the city code pertaining to notice requirements and available shelter options and the abatement of unauthorized camps.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. You know, for those who want to just dismiss this as punitive and punishing and we want to put people in jail, it's false. The folks that interact with our homeless individuals out there, whether it is from our housing community, our housing department, outreach team, our newly formed police homeless outreach team, or Mile High Behavioral Health, they are approaching these individuals with respect, dignity, options, compassion. There was an individual camping alongside busy Iliff Avenue turning into King Soopers on a bit of a corner, literally 8 feet from the street, which was clearly dangerous. So I think in a situation like that, this type of a measure or ability would be useful. Now, the city has an overall comprehensive approach to looking at homelessness and dealing with things. Now we have some great assets coming online. We've already opened up the Regional Navigation Campus early for emergency sheltering, which is going well. There's partners stepping up already, like Niagara Bottling, giving bottled water. We have and in the fall, that will be great. And we're going to be encouraging people to make sound decisions, coming alongside them and get them into the right services, surrounded by support, hopefully job training, working, contributing to society. Again, that's the ultimate goal. Every case is different, obviously. As an asset, we also have the Aurora Mental Health and Recovery Acute Care Campus opening in January of next year, hopefully. There's going to be a couple of events there, even in May and another time this year. Finally, we have the Ridgeview Academy out near Watkins coming online in the future. So there's a lot of additional support for our overall approach to homelessness. But this is not something that we're just going to automatically go to abate somebody immediately. It's to the discretion and it's to the wisdom of those interacting with those on the street. And again, I would just say that there's discernment there, there's care, and there's compassion. And this is just a small tool in the tool belt in case it's needed.
Okay. Can I have a brief presentation by staff just to go over the nuts and bolts of this?
Mayor and City Council, this is Jessica Prosser, Director of Housing and Community Services. So there's really just two key changes to the camping ordinance. As mentioned, it's the deletion of a 72-hour notice requirement. So essentially, an encampment that is deemed under the ordinance to be a public health and safety concern could be abated at any time. However, we do work with our Keeson, our contractor, that does remove items, and so we do still have to coordinate with them. So reasonably, it will take a little bit of time to coordinate that. And then the other piece is the requirement that there has to be a shelter bed available. And as Mayor Pro Tem Sundberg just described, we do have our regional navigation campus coming online. We have every night sheltering going this winter. So we do have many more shelter beds than we used to available. So that should not be a concern, and we should be able to meet that requirement anyway at this point. So those are the two major changes. We've had the camping ordinance in place for a few years now, and so those are the two things that are changing.
And I want to say that we've got tremendous capacity right now. We're utilizing the Aurora Day Resource Center on the CU Anschutz Medical Campus during the day. And then they're taken at 4 p.m. To the Aurora Navigation Resource Center that is under renovation, but there's a large congregate shelter with cots available for them to stay at night, and then they're taken back to the ARDC in the morning. Are there further questions or comments? Are there any questions of staff? Staff seeing none, any further questions or comments?
Mayor.
Councilmember Combs.
So at risk of sounding like a broken record, folks can say that this is not punitive, but the consequences certainly will be. Because although we're saying we aren't currently utilizing our general penalty clause, that doesn't mean we can't, right? When we create this discretion, it means that a person could be immediately moved with no notice and no offer of shelter, and could be put in jail for up to 364 days. That's what that discretion allows. So that is punitive, for one. For two, it means that the more that people take up the offer of shelter, the more likely we are to lack that capacity, and the more likely we are to end up with a person being displaced and swept without having shelter as an option. So the better we get at getting people into shelter, the more likely we are to jail someone for being homeless because we don't have a shelter opportunity. So theoretically, the more successful we are, the more likely we are to be more punitive and do more harm. And the notice is a humane amount of notice to provide to folks so that they can make arrangements. When we do it without,
if I can ask, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mayor, am I not allowed to finish my thought?
Please proceed.
When we do this without people being able to make arrangements, we're creating a greater likelihood that someone who may have just fallen on hard times ends up immediately being jailed as a result of simply not being able to afford a place to live or having fallen on hard times. So we can say discretion all we want, but discretion cuts both ways. it can lead to discrimination. It can lead to harm. And so I, once again, do not support. I am concerned about the potential consequences regardless of the intent. And I believe that having the notice and having the requirement of shelter being offered are both beneficial to addressing this issue. Removing them is.
Quick, Jessica, when somebody, basically they're ordered to move, correct? So what is their requirement? When if there's, let's just say hypothetically, there is an abatement and there is no shelter available. What is it? That's not an arrest issue, is it? I mean, the person has to move.
Mayor, are you saying under the current ordinance now prior to the changes?
Even this ordinance, is it, if somebody is, if their encampment's abated, without notice, and let's just say hypothetically, there is no space for them, which is really.
Yeah, we've never encountered that at this point in the past few years of having the ordinance in place. So we've always had backup beds and, a backup plan. So we have not had to pause or not abate in a camp because of lack of shelter beds, if that makes sense. They may not take the shelter bed offering, but we are at least offering the shelter bed to them.
That's correct. But what Councilmember McCombs is saying, that the punitive nature, if there is no place for them to go to, that they could be arrested.
So, oh, sorry, Jessica.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll just say under Grants Pass, the Supreme Court case, that is legal to do that.
Right.
If that happens, but I don't expect that. I mean, I know that our police outreach team and Jessica's team does a really good job when they're out doing the abatements, that if individuals that are experiencing homelessness are not really they don't want to move, right? They're here, they don't want to leave. They bend over backwards, right? Before, and an arrest is possible, but it's the last resort.
That's if they refuse to move.
Right.
No, I mean, if they move, the issue is that they move.
Correct. If they move, then they'll move on. Then they're not in the camp anymore, and then there's no justification for an arrest.
Further questions or comments, Councilmember Bergen?
Yes, I was just going to say that if it's, especially if it's somebody that fell on hard times, I mean, I think we have always been able to assist people to get into shelter. I think, as Jessica said, people do refuse shelter from us, but I think if somebody really fell on hard times, I think they would accept it. And honestly, if someone is being defiant and does not want to move, and was placed in jail for a few days, they would have shelter and food, and they would be safe, actually. So I don't think that's the ultimate, the goal, obviously, is to get them shelter, so that we can help them with their situation. As Pete said, it's unlikely that we would jail somebody.
Well, if they're willing to move, they would not be jailed. As a further discussion? Seeing none, the question.
Real quick, Murillo.
Oh, Councilmember Murillo, please.
Yeah. Just, I don't understand that we're already not running into issues with the bed issue. Why would we roll that back? I mean, I don't agree with it. I do think this is punitive, but that also just logically doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
Further discussion.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro
to answer that question, there is sometimes the need to abate somebody quickly enough. It's often because of safety. There can be a fire hazard next to a field and homes. The propane tank explosion that a police officer told me about not long ago. We had a culvert melt under a roadway a few years ago. The gentleman sleeping next to the road I just talked about. So in some cases, enforcing the law and helping someone to get out of a dangerous situation, yet providing them options, is going to be a safe option.
Very well.
So, wait, Mayor, can I just ask for clarification?
Please proceed.
So you're saying we can't do that now with offering bed space? Like, how does removing the bed space accomplish what you just said?
Space is there. We just heard that we have more bed space than before.
So I guess why are we removing that as the floor?
I guess that this
Like,
was
we're
put
like,
together
okay, you don't
before.
have a home, we don't have a place for you, sorry. That's what this.
This language was being crafted before we opened up the regional navigation campus with these massive rooms and numbers of cots. So I believe going forward that the bed space will be there.
Councilmember Murillo, just.
Oh, and if I can just add, a lot of times, there are times where people they don't want bed space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jessica Prosser and then Pete Schulte.
So we are able to do emergency abatements, and we do those from time to time when there is a very emergent need to abate the camp. That was already built into the ordinance in there. Councilmember Murillo, I think, and Pete will probably say the same thing, but just it's in alignment with the decision from the court case, and that's where this is coming from. It's not going to change our practices in that we have shelter beds available and we're still offering them, so it's consistent.
So we already have the ability to, like,
I
in
haven't
those
recognized
emergency.
you, Councilmember Moria.
Sorry, Mayor, can I ask a clarifying
You
question?
have the floor. Pete, you've got the floor.
Who do you, is it me, Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. No, and Jessica's right. I mean, what this ordinance was drafted on is to meet what the current law is. It doesn't mean that every time Jessica's team goes out, they're going to abate immediately, not have shelter space available. There are a lot of things, a lot of moving parts that Jessica will talk about how, our abatement company that assists with us isn't able to show up in 30 minutes notice, right? Unless it's planned. So this is just crafted. The law was crafted to be in absolute compliance with the law that and again, what I've been told by Jessica Scribb, she can confirm this, is that in the case where it's the spur of the moment, that's going to be incredibly rare, if ever, that it'll happen that way. And I'll let Jessica agree or disagree with me on that.
Councilmember Moreno.
Thank you. It sounds like we already have the ability, though, in emergency situations to do what we were just described. So again, it's rhetorical and literal in that if we can do what we need to do and we're not even worried about there being space, why would we roll that back? Why would we roll back the floor of what people can expect when it comes to treating folks who are experiencing homelessness with some sort of dignity? Rhetorically, I don't agree with that, but literally it doesn't make any sense of why we would move the goalpost if that's the floor and we already get to do that and we already get to address these emergency situations. That doesn't make sense to me. So anyways, I'm a no vote.
Further discussion. Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of item number 14A.
Mayor, I move to adopt 14A.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude. No motion. Motion is in order. It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by.
Mayor, I second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lawson to adopt item number 14A. Call for the question. I'm sorry. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of item number 14A.
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Coombs, Medina, and Murillo to adopt item 14A.
Clerk, now please read the title of item number 15A.
Item 15A is Resolution 2025-18, a resolution of the City of Aurora, Colorado, finding a petition for annexation of a parcel of land located in the southeast quarter of Section 2 and the northeast quarter of Section 11, Township 4 South, Range 66 West of the 6th Principal Meridian, County of Arapahoe, State of Colorado, to be in substantial compliance with Section 3112-1071 CRS and giving notice of a public hearing on the proposed annexation for 2.589 acres.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. For the public record, I'm Justin Andrews. I'm a project manager with the Office of Development Assistance. A petition for this annexation was filed with the city clerk for annexation of a parcel owned by Triple Creek Capital LLC. This parcel is located at the northwest corner of Stephen D. Hogan Parkway and Piccadilly Road. The parcel falls within the city's annexation boundary and meets contiguity requirements. The initial zoning ordinance will be presented to City Council concurrently with the annexation ordinance. The initial zoning shall follow the city's comprehensive plan. The annexation process follows state law, and this annexation will be considered over 3 City Council meetings. Tonight's meeting, in which City Council considers approval of a resolution, making a finding that the petition is in substantial compliance with statutory requirements, and sets the public hearing date for March 24th. We have no separate presentation from the applicant, and we're happy to answer any questions from council.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor, I move to approve 15A.
It's moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Durinsky.
Councilmember Joski to approve item number 15A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of item number 15A.
Councilmember Casal,
Yes.
motion passes with 10 yes votes to adopt item 15A.
Let's see, 17A, discussion and possible actions regarding future in-person or virtual meetings. Discussion?
There are individuals signed up to speak on this item.
If I can briefly, Mayor, before we hear from them, if you guys don't do anything, the meeting on the 24th will be in person.
Okay.
With the new rules.
Okay, good. Please proceed. Please proceed.
Tanya, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Again, I'm just speaking about the ability to be heard. I understand that why we have gone into virtual and so forth, and unfortunately that has been the case. But I have been to several council meetings within the last, I think, 2 years. And I've always had this ability and feel safe enough to talk, to speak, and be heard by you guys and those around me. Unfortunately, in the last couple of months, myself and other people have spoken, and in the time that we've spoken, we've been heckled, commented on, yelled at, said it's not important, and so forth. And in my right, cars being stolen, speed racing going around, shoplifting, and so forth is as important as anything else. And I truly believe that everyone, regardless, has the right to be heard and to speak about their comments and concerns without hearing background noise or heckling or whatever. I keep on saying this again and again, and it seems to not. It seems like some council members hear me and other people don't hear me. They're thinking that that's not the case. But I've been there. I've just like you guys have been, and this has been since June. Everyone, like I said, has the right to be heard, and transparency needs to be out there. And I know that within the council there might be disagreements and so forth, but in some aspects, I would believe that it's best to take that in-house and so forth, and not be so disgruntled against each other, because then that goes to the public and they throw it in everyone else's faces. So again, everyone has the right to be heard, and thank you for hearing me.
Is there anybody else wishes to be heard? Katie?
Susan, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, this is Susan Kabachek. I am an Aurora person. I'm also a native Coloradoan. I am very upset because I want it to be virtual. I want to commend City Council for the great work you have done. As I read your charter, your rules and such, there is no requirement for public speaking, none. Therefore, I really suggest no in-person meetings until the nonsense stops and the people get their money. There are multiple individuals who want to hear about what is going on in Aurora. I absolutely hate, as a 76-year-old woman being heckled and all the hoopla that goes on. It is so disrespectful and non-professional. I'm a constituent along with a lot of professionals, and I want the bullies to be quiet. Thank you, Mayor and council members.
Next, we have Ashim. Ashim, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I remember in the days when the meetings were in person, and I appreciate that. Those were council members that had integrity, and I really appreciate that. And if I was an elected official, I would definitely go with that. And I would love to have people heard, because that's what the work is. Everyone doesn't have availability to utilize the misconstrued or the structured fear tactics that sometimes people put up when they become fragile. Additionally, I would find it highly hypocritical of me to say that something should be remote or something should not be happening in person when I just voted upon a situation to make it optional or suggesting that people come back and work in place. I would be highly embarrassed to say that I represent the people, but then I hide from the people. I don't know if my family would ever be pleased with that. I don't know if my constituents would ever be pleased with that. I definitely know that I wouldn't be pleased with that as well. And I say all that to say that the only fear that I've ever received from coming to an Aurora City Council meeting was that from the weaponized police. And the only threat that I've ever seen happen at an Aurora City Council meeting is when Mayor Kaufman charged a citizen in a violent, aggressive behavior. So if your reason is not to meet in person or to remain virtual or to end public comment, if it's to protect people from that type of treatment from an elected official, I highly suggest that there's action done to sanction such horrible, violent type of behavior. Outside of that, I look at it and see it as nothing other than control. And it's very reminiscent of a time in America's history when people had the bloodlust desire to control people and own them as property. So I support the public access. I support people speaking in person. I support the freedoms because I'm not a coward.
Next, we have Ante. Ante, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Mayor and council, I truly couldn't care less which format you keep or don't keep your public your meetings. As you have seen, the organizing around specific issues isn't limited to how long you allow public comment or how long you're going to what time you're going to start it or what time you're going to end it. We've shown you through the last few weeks that we'll catch you on your agenda items or we'll catch you on your public comment, but you're not going to continue to run from us. And so I actually think that this conversation is a moot point. I think it's very hypocritical that this council is having this conversation around future of in-person or virtual meetings while then forcing people to then go back to work. That makes no sense whatsoever while you're in a virtual format. However, you just continue to make this story for yourselves. You continue to write this narrative. You continue to play into what type of meeting you're going to have. I would rather see y'all in person because some of y'all, when you're in a great mood, y'all have beautiful smiles. Others of y'all, when y'all look real flustered, you can tell it, and it's great to see it in person. If you want to do it virtually, great. Then, I look forward to seeing your houses and your floors. Some folks need to pick up their stuff off their floors because last time we got to see a lot of your dirty laundry. But aside from that, I would really appreciate that if we could just stop having these conversations around these semantics. Are we in person? Are we not in person? Are we in person? Are we not in person? I mean, at this point, it's just a back and forth elementary school game that you all are playing because you're just simply afraid of seeing people in person. Or maybe it's afraid that you can't control your own actions and you have to run up on citizens who are just trying to exit a public meeting. But by all means, I hope that elected officials can be able to learn how to have certain levels of decorum and not attack private citizens at your council meetings. It's really, you've wasted more time of debating about this being in person or not in person than many of your other issues that are pressing around the entire city. And so grateful that we continue to have the opportunity to come before you all. But, I would just say a lot of you all talk about thoughts and prayers and sympathy for various causes. I encourage you all to actually put that into action. We look forward to seeing your emails inviting people to having a sit down and authentic conversation with you. Happy Black History Month.
Next, we have Median. Median, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
I too agree that the mechanism doesn't matter. When it is about justice, seeking justice, we're going to come virtually or in person. I think that speaking to the distinction of the experience, I think in person, we've seen a different style of decorum, not something to applaud, but a different style of decorum. Virtually, I think we've seen less decorum from you all as a council. Virtually, we've seen Mayor Kaufman claim that or insinuate that somehow, some way, someone's record allows for them to be deserving of an outcome while that person's mother is present. Virtually, we have seen and heard Danielle Jurinsky filibuster and try to rationalize at what she can't do and what you all as a council can't do, yet you haven't virtually or in person identified things that you can do. Virtually, we have heard Sundberg concoct a lie about how his engagement went with somebody in the community as it pertains to his attempt to try to invade the family of Kylan Lewis. We've seen that virtually. We've also seen virtually Stephanie Hancock continue to try to insert herself into an issue that knowingly, when she called on community, we were there for her. Virtually, we continue to see the city attorney try to stumble through the First Amendment allegations in legislation that is inevitably coming your way. So virtually, I think that you all do more damage to yourself, but in person, you all seemingly, again, can't get it right. In person, I will say that we did see Allison Coombs and Crystal Murillo step up and lean in with the community. That happened while the meeting was in person. In person, we have seen the newly appointed Cassaw sit through a part of a meeting, get up and leave, and virtually not know where to insert himself. So I think both virtually and in person, you all continue to fail your constituency. And so again, the mechanism does not matter because we are not going to fail our community. Virtually or in person, we will continue to show up. Virtually or in person, we will continue to be the voice that haunts your leadership. And virtually or in person, you will never be able to create something that will not afford us to
Your
come
time is up.
to you with.
Next, we have LaRonda. LaRonda, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I would love for it to stay in person because virtually, I don't like looking at the computer screen because I can't see the body language of the council members. And as in person, I have experience when I got up there to talk at the podium. I have witnessed and seen the panel either looking down at their phones, messing with their computers, as if to say, we're not listening. We don't care about what you up here are talking about or your concerns. So to say that you guys respect us, want to listen, you hear us, I can't tell when those type of things are being done when I'm up there telling you my concerns. And as well as for as the people being fearful to be able to speak tonight, we only took up 8 minutes was taken up, and they had 22 and nobody even spoke up after that. And I look at in person, I can be there and I can voice what I need to get my point across on how I feel, how I have been affected my life and things. So, and yes, for Council Member Hancock and myself did hold a private meeting, but it extends to my family. I'm not the only one hurting. My family is too, and they want to hear from the council members in person, because virtually, I don't think it's going to work if it stays virtual, because people is going to be upset. People want to see your faces. They want to see your reactions. They want to see your body language and things of that nature. So just put the people first and not yourselves, because we are people too with feelings and concerns. So please keep it in person. Thank you.
That was the last individual.
Okay, is there objection to going in person in the next council meeting? Seeing none, then the next council meeting will be in person. Reports, I had to reschedule my town hall meeting, and it will be because of weather, and so now it will be on March 1st at 2 o'clock at the Aurora Central Library. Councilmember Coombs.
Thank you, Mayor. We have heard from some of our speakers tonight about the Black history of struggle. We have heard and had over time to say the names of people whose lives have been stolen, but importantly, Black History Month is also about Black excellence. And so I just wanted to highlight some of the philosophers that I had the pleasure of learning about and learning from in my time as a student of philosophy. Bell Hook, Audre Lorde, Sojourner Truth, Angela Davis, Patricia Hill Collins, France Fanon, Alain Leroy Locke, James Baldwin, W.B. Du Bois, Cornel West, James Mills, and there are many, many more. But those are just a small list. If folks wanted to have a little Black history reading list of philosophers, and particularly often political philosophers, to consider. And I hope that everyone has a beautiful evening, and I look forward to seeing you all in person at our next meeting.
Councilmember Gardner.
No report.
Councilmember Drisky.
No report.
Councilmember Kazaa.
No report.
Councilmember Moreo.
Thanks, Mayor. We had a really successful January town hall. I'll have my next one on February 27th. I hope to see you all there. We'll be back again at Moorhead Recreation Center.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Sundberg.
Thank you, sir. Remarkable story over in Francois Bergen's, Councilwoman Francois Bergen's ward at Altitude Elementary School, in which they have Saturday pickup basketball games. Back in November, a second grade teacher had a heart attack and dropped dead while playing basketball. Dead. And the quick action of the principal who grabbed the AED, another member there who performed CPR, another person called 911. They saved his life. So I went to a Phoenix Award ceremony in which those people were honored, our 911 call center honored, and first responders. It was truly remarkable. He's got a second chance on life. So when you enter a building, you might take a look at where that AED is and brush up on your CPR. Councilman Kassa, Councilman Curtis Gardner, and myself toured the Niagara bottling facility. Truly remarkable, high-tech, very automated facility in Aurora that makes water and water bottles for numerous places like Sam's Club, Kroger, Costco, higher end water, lower end cheaper water. A place like that would not survive the approval of our our planning department these days because of the water usage, but truly remarkable. They do a lot of great things in the community. I attended the Aurora Fire Rescue graduation ceremony. Another tour of the Regional Navigation Campus recently, where the Centennial City had their city council and mayor there to see what we're doing. And lastly, I attended Aurora Police Department promotion ceremony. Thank you.
Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, my town hall is tomorrow, Tuesday, at the Active Adult Center from 6:30 to 8 p.m. We'll be talking about the unhoused and also the Navigation Center, which I toured also with Councilmember Sundberg and Mayor Kaufman. And hopefully we'll see some people there. So thank you.
Councilmember
Your name.
No report, Mayor.
Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a short Pfizer legislative update. The city will be engaging in testimony over the next several weeks on a number of different issues that we have taken positions on. Congress may enact another continuing resolution to avoid a government shutdown. They have until March 14th as their deadline. I really want to thank Pete Schulte for coming to my Saturday town hall. He was the star of the show. He outshined me, definitely. He was very famous. People wanted his autograph. He did a fabulous job. Yes, you did. Thank you so much, Pete. It was a wonderful presentation. I'm still getting constituents contacting me today about how wonderful you are. They weren't talking about me. They were talking about you. So thank you so much. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilmember Bergen.
Thank you, Mayor. Apologize earlier. I'm not feeling well. So anyway, had a few meetings with some staff members on various issues. Of course, we had our winter workshop. I attended the Dome Park public meeting, and that was where we were able to get an update from the consultants on some ideas for that park. There is a challenge there because we have that, we call it Dome Park because it has that big golf ball that's the Buckley satellite thing. And anyway, because of that, there's got to be a buffer zone around it. So it did constrain some of the ideas for what could be in that park, but still very creative. And so we're looking forward to the next meeting where they take some of the comments from the constituents and then kind of just look at a new design. And so anyway, that's it. And I had AEDC Executive Committee as well.
Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. We've got a public invited to be heard. And
Nobody signed up to speak.
very well. Please proceed.
We don't have anybody.
Oh, we don't. Okay. State no further business before the Aurora City Council. This is my gavel. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.